I think that was the smoothest introduction I've ever done. The production values around here are shooting through the roof. And yes, you are listening or watching or whatever to episode 13, lucky number 13 of the Coin Jam podcast. I think technically this is our 1 year anniversary, right? So we've done 12 episodes. We completed a full year. We started in February of 2023. And now, of course, we are in February of 2024 with our 13th episode. So happy anniversary, gentlemen. I'm joined as always by my constant companions and co-hosts here. We got Liam, who is one half of Retrobotics on YouTube. Say hello, Liam.
How is everyone doing?
Awesome. And we've got Kay from Prime Arcade on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. What's up, Kay?
Hey, yo, how you doing? Actually, I saw in my my memories just today that tomorrow is our actual anniversary. Tomorrow is the anniversary of the very first show that we put on. So I guess February 25th would be our anniversary.
There you go. Anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy birthday. Happy everything. Glad to have you all here. And today is very special for a couple of reasons. The biggest one being we have a very special guest with us today, a guest co-host, probably known to quite a few of you, Troy from Troy's Restorations on YouTube. Say hello, Troy. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
So we're going to be hearing a lot from Troy coming up in just a couple minutes. And also, I want to remind everyone, I don't know, I'm not sure if I really teased this enough. We have a major announcement that I'm going to reveal at the end of this episode that is going to completely transform the future of the Coin Jam podcast as we know it. So please make sure you stick around until the end so you don't miss that announcement. Going to be a pretty big deal. So let's take a quick look at what's going on in the live chat. We got a lot of folks in here. We've had John D has been in the live chat on and off for 8 hours. I think he might have been consuming adult beverages since then. So hopefully John does not fall asleep before the end of the episode. We've got Angelina as always. Hey, Angelina, Jumping General. He's definitely a trooper. He's always here for us. Who else is here? We got Papa Sean 69, tubing in from Peterborough, Ontario. Who else is here? We got Ian KO. Am I supposed to say Enco for that, K? I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Enco. All right. I'll pronounce it as Enco. All right. And quite a few other folks here. So if you haven't said anything yet, please chime into the live chat. Say hello. Make sure we know that you're there. And we welcome any questions you have throughout the episode. Anything you want to hear more from us. Oh, we got Wayne and Jeffrey Mays, a couple of Overtime Arcade channel members chiming in. Thor KC is here. He's looking for John D. And yeah, Enco is confirming that I am pronouncing the name correctly. So awesome. We've got a really awesome show for you all. There's a bunch of stuff that we're going to go over. We're really going to spend a lot of time with Troy and get to know Troy. Make sure all of you, you want to be subscribed to Troy's channel on YouTube, which is Troy's Restorations. This guy is prolific. For a while he was doing like an hour-long episode almost every single day, just totally cranking them out, restoring. I was completely blown away by his bubbles restoration. He did a Solar Fox restoration recently. He's just been kicking butt. He's also a man of many talents. He restores cars and other types of classic collectibles as well. So I'm a really big fan of Troy. I hope you all are as well. Troy, make sure you put your link to your channel down in the live chat, just so everyone can double check and make sure that they are subscribed to your channel. And so let's see. So why don't we start with our standard updates? We do this round robin. We go around the horn, talk about what's going on, what we've been working on, that sort of thing. And, one of the most exciting things that everyone likes to talk about are recent pickups. So we'll talk about, we'll kick it off with recent pickups, any games you've recently picked up, any game room updates, projects that you finished and moved into your game room, or kind of what's even going on in the workshop. So I know Liam has some news to share with us. So Liam, why don't you tell us what's been going on? Any pickups lately? Anything exciting happening on the Retro Robotics Arcade?
Well, we actually have picked up one game so far in February. Technically, we picked up a Konami cabinet last week. A Contra, I think it was a Contra. It had been converted to a Mortal Kombat poorly. But we are going to be changing that over to be a dedicated cabinet for our Aliens. Now, Aliens, a lot of people think came only in conversion cabinets, only a conversion kit. There were a few dedicated machines that left the factory. They were not in Contra cabinets. They were in Devastator's cabinets, but they are identical other than the paint color. So we're going to take this opportunity to give Aliens the cabinet it deserves. So that'll be pretty fun. And a not yet pickup, but close.
Drum roll, please.
We have made a deal.
Where's our sound effects? We don't have the budget for that.
Yeah, I don't have a soundboard. I wasn't ready.
We've made a deal for a Solar Fox upright in absolute gorgeous condition.
Yes.
And a buddy of ours, Cameron, just picked it up in Tennessee. So we're going to have to finagle a way to get down there at some point to pick that machine up. But inside and out, it is incredible. The art is spotless. The only thing missing on it is the original joystick. It has a TRS joystick on it. But once we find that, it'll be all back to how it is meant to be. So we're very excited to have that in here. We got a Firefox in that corner, and we'll have a Solar Fox in that corner. So
I'm so excited for you guys, because I know you and I last summer were at a party, and you and I and Sam were playing the heck out of Solar Fox that mega collector had at their party. And I know, both you and Sam, as well as I, have kind of been on the hunt for a Solar Fox since then. I know it's really it's in my top 20, wanted on Vaps. And I know it's really been at the top of your list, and you've been after it for a while. So really excited for you to get that. And you mentioned Cameron picked it up for you. So Cameron McCaslin, of course, friend of the podcast. He's been a guest host on the podcast before. So awesome guy down in the Nashville area. So yeah, looking forward to the two of you linking up so you can grab that Solar Fox from him.
Yeah, I don't know when it's going to be, but it definitely has a space here already set up for it. So we're excited to bring it in. And as for game room updates, there was another update.
Another big one.
We finally fixed the hole in the ceiling. There had been the water leak, and that had caused problems. So here I am in game room 2. Now that it's been finally patched up, Firefox is back in its corner. It's back to operation. Everything's nice and clean, and I can actually feel relaxed in here again. So that is super nice.
Very cool. And let me just say real quick, a hi to a Smoke Break, another Overtime Arcade channel member. Melissa Hansen chiming in saying, hey, from upstairs. I don't think you're upstairs in my house, so I'm assuming that was a wink given to Troy. Wayne, an Overtime Arcade channel member, says, hey, Troy, how's the knee feeling? I'm sure Troy will tell us all about that coming up in a couple of minutes. But Liam, you're also being shy, because I know there's another big game room update, something you've been excited about for a while, something, project that you kind of maybe refinished for the second time. That was something you've been working on for a while too, right?
Are you alluding to X-Men?
No, Robotron.
Oh, yeah. Robotron. Yes, we finally have original boards in Robotron, and it took us a while since we first put it together, I think in February of last year, but with a J-Rock. And Robotron boards are inexplicably more expensive than, say, a Joust. So
swap.
it took us a while to it's a ROM swap, I know, but it took us a while to wait for a set that could come through that I wouldn't feel guilty about messing with. And now we have it in the cabinet. Charles Klein gave us a absolutely fantastic harness, and we scrounged together the rest of the parts. And I think now the only unoriginal part on that game, aside the harness, is the glass bezel. Other than that, we are back to 100% original Robotron, and I couldn't be happier. The J-Rock is able to play that game perfectly, but the sound just does not come through for me. The original soundboard is able to drive it much louder, much more full. So I really am happy to have that.
I love that game. It's quite a few days of the week that Robotron is actually my favorite game of all time. I know last night you mentioned Charles Klein, so we did the Overtime Arcade monthly members only live stream was last night, which is a perk to all channel members of my channel. Charles Klein was there. He's a channel member. It was really fun, him hanging out and chatting with us. And Dell from Dell's Arcade, he challenged me. I was doing in the basement, was doing a bunch of gameplay. And Dell from Dell's Arcade challenged me to play Robotron with your hands swapped. So you kind of cross your hands and you have your right hand on the movement stick and your left hand on the shooting stick. And it's like super disorienting. It kind of screws with your brain. Like you can get past the first level pretty easily, but it starts to get a little bit hectic because, you want to have these twitch reflexes, but your wires are crossed inside your brain. So awesome.
I'm going to have to give that a shot now. I've been obviously on a little bit of a Robotron kick.
Yeah, chasing that million score, right?
Oh, that's the dream. I still haven't even hit 500K.
Well, it'll come soon enough. You are doggedly determined. Every time I watch you play, you take it to a sort of a next level of intensity. So next, why don't we kick it over to Kay to kind of hear what's been going on out in Texas? Any pickups lately, Kay? Any projects that you've been finishing? Game room updates? Anything like that at all? Oh, also, before I say anything, I want to give it. Troy is bringing his entire fan base with him here. Big shout out to Linda Lukens signing in, saying hi. That is awesome. So sorry about that, Kay. Over to you now.
So the most recent pickup would be from yesterday. I picked up a Pac-Man Cabaret. Complete, not working. It seems to have some sort of board issue because I get an image on the monitor, but it's just a lot of stuff jumping around. I haven't taken any look at it other than confirming everything was in there, but I think just I might just be able to push in chips and have a machine. That'd be pretty cool. But the only thing that I found that was missing was like the very top bracket for the bezel. I think is the only thing that was missing, but everything else is complete on that cabinet. And I got it for a good deal. And it was out of town, but the guy messaged me 30 minutes before I was there anyway. So I was able to grab it while I was there. I haven't really picked up too many other projects since the large pickup I did a couple months back. For a game room update, however, I've had the same multicade in my collection for several years now in a Street Fighter 3 cabinet, and it originally had a 25-inch CRT in it, but I ended up having to steal that because I needed it for some other project. I needed it for some shooting game that had to have a CRT, so I just stole mine because it was the only one available. I put a flat screen in it, and I've never replaced it since then. And the only issue I've ever really had with that multicade is a lot of the games had some lag issues, both with audio and kind of jittering a little bit. My girlfriend had some issues, and I playing a Third Strike on it just because it's got a lot of slowdown. I was building a multi for someone else using the same board, and it had a CRT in it, and I noticed there was no slowdown. So it turns out if you've got a Pandora's box that can do either standard res or high res, if you have it at high res, you're going to have a bunch of skipping issues. But if you do it at standard res, you don't. Everything's smooth, plays really nicely, and that just reinforced me really wanting to have a CRT in my machine again. But I still don't have a 25 laying around. So I had a Dynamo cab that had a Marvel vs. Capcom board in it and a Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter marquee in it, and no other artwork. It's just a 19-inch monitor Dynamo corner cut cab. And I decided I'm going to get that cabinet instead. So I took out that busted marquee and put in a Street Fighter II Championship Edition marquee that I had hanging on my wall, and it was a perfect fit. And I just put the Pandora's box in there and sold the Marvel vs. Capcom board to a friend. And I decided, well, I've already got the marquee. Let's do the whole art package. So I got a custom-made bezel and control panel and side art. I just turned the entire cabinet to look like a Street Fighter II Championship Edition, which is one of my favorite fighting games of all time. So I also changed the T-molding to be a nice light blue, recapped the monitor, and just put new buttons on there because all the buttons were red. I didn't like that. I want the red, white, and blue that the original Street Fighter II had. And it's just a beautiful cabinet. I like looking at it. I like having it in the house. I don't play it still, but I like having it and looking at it. So
It's part of the hobby, man.
it's something to look at as I walk past to go do something else.
There you go. Awesome. And so, any big like you mentioned, you made that huge pickup. Anything going on business wise? Anything interesting that you've finished and sold lately? Anything like that?
There's nothing too exciting. I did fix up a Dig Dug. That's one of the few dedicated cabinets that was still original that came from that large haul. I still have a Centipede and an Omega Race Cocktail that came from that I still need to work on, but most everything else was a conversion. And I'll get to some of those in some of our later topics because they're more relevant to those. But the last thing I fixed before this, or the last thing I fixed was a Capcom bowling and a Super Pac-Man cabinet. Nothing too exciting, but I sold it within 30 minutes of posting it, so that's exciting.
People love that game.
It's not bad. Like, if I'm going to have a bowling game in my collection, I would rather have Silver Strike, but this is a nice predecessor to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see the appeal.
And it's, it's something that you can just keep playing and playing and playing, chasing a 300, right? So
it makes a fantastic drinking game with friends.
There you go. Very cool. All right. Thank you, Kay. Over to you, Troy. So kind of as Wayne alluded to in the live chat, you've had a little, minor medical issue that's kind of slowed you down back from your typical superhuman prolific pace of working on projects. But what's, with, the knee notwithstanding, what's been going on lately? You did a huge renovation of your entire arcade. You've been doing tons of projects. What's been going on over at your arcade and your workshop?
Working on Paperboy right now. Just started working on that. I got that cabinet last summer, just an empty cabinet. What didn't have anything. Been piecing and parting it together for the past year. Guy, shout out to Patrick. He helped me out with a lot of parts. Now he's helped me out with some side art as well. So I did do a pickup 2 nights ago, or 3 nights ago, was it?
What was that?
A buddy of mine in Michigan that I restored that Donkey Kong 3 cabinet for, that red one. It was a video last year, I think I did. I picked up a pole position for him, and he wants me to completely redo it.
Nice.
So
upright, which version of the cabinet?
It's an upright. It's a regular upright. I have mine, and I never made a video on it, so I actually going to do a video series on it since I never did one on mine because that was years before I started making videos.
Yeah. Awesome. And tell us about the renovation that you did. This was a pretty major, project. What went into that?
Everything. I ripped all the ceilings out, rewired the whole entire house. The main fuse panel, put a whole new fuse panel in down here. I put the wood on the walls and the ceiling, made my own drop ceiling out of wood. Vinyl flooring. I ended up putting just a glued down vinyl flooring. I glued it right to the concrete. I was afraid to put anything floating because of the weight of the games. I thought maybe it would buckle on me in over time or something like that. So I barely got it done in time. I literally finished it maybe 20 minutes before people started showing up for our New Year's party.
That's wild.
Oh yeah, it was a close one.
Yeah. Well, and you've got an awesome collection, and anyone that's watched your channel, I'm blown away. I always learn stuff from you and what you're working on. That's been incredible. And Angelina in the live chat wants to hear about the leg lamp you've got behind you.
That is a real leg lamp. I got that for Christmas years ago. It was ordered from wherever they sell them. It's a legit one. It's not a fake one or anything like that. We just leave it up all year.
It's not a real leg. It's a real leg lamp.
It's a real leg lamp. I might have to use that leg one day.
It's funny. My son, one of my kids, loves learning about. This is just a bizarre tangent, but I think it's hilarious. He loves like old, history and battles and all that kind of stuff. And we were listening to something today about like ancient Egypt, right? And there was a pharaoh who was, deposed in a coup, and they killed him, and they stole his big toe off of his foot as a trophy. And my 9-year-old son thought that was the most hilarious thing, stealing the king's toe. Maybe they made a lamp out of it or something. You never know. So
Good.
awesome. So next up, we got a bunch of new people chiming in here. Stephen Wallard. Who else? Levi Patterson. Awesome. These guys are definitely diehards of the podcast. Are always around here, which is great. Thanks for joining, fellas. So next, and maybe we'll go and I got to talk about my stuff. Okay, so let's see. Pickups. I was alluding to this last month. I think just before the last episode, I did a dual pickup in the snow. I don't know. You can kind of maybe see a little glimpse of this Neo Geo up here. And I don't know. There's another cabinet over here you might not be able to see. So I picked up 2 cabinets in the snow. That pickup video is coming out tomorrow. It's already been released for early access for Overtime Arcade channel members. They've been watching it since earlier today. So that's a lot of fun. Awesome deal. 2 cabinets for $75 each. Both of them are working. Both of one has been lightly converted, one has been heavily converted, but working games, great deal. So, hey, we've got Tony Arrowwood from the Arcade Wood Shop. Tony makes those awesome reproduction Williams control panels. He makes full, reproduction, factory perfect, factory accurate reproduction cabinets. He's also an Overtime Arcade channel member. He's about to launch his own channel about doing all of that kind of stuff. He's just checking in and saying hi. So thanks for joining, Tony. So let's see. That was a pickup. I made a couple of other pickups. Not really for me though. I picked up a World Series Cinematronics World Series countertop. I actually picked that up for Cameron though. So I'm hoping that between I live relatively close to Liam, and I've got one of Cameron's cabinets, and Cameron lives down in Tennessee, and he's got one of Liam's cabinets. So I'm trying to get these two to sort out the logistics where maybe Liam swings by my place, grabs Cameron's cabinet on his way down to maybe meeting Cameron halfway, who can come out with Liam's and Sam's Solar Fox, and they can do a handoff, kind of like Jeremiah and I did last year, because we both had some machines for each other. So hopefully that works out. That was an interesting pickup. There was another game that I picked up at that same day. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me either, and it's kind of tucked away back there. It's a Galaxian clone called Spacian, Spacian, sort of really weird, Galaxian clone. But it's got the most incredible, borderline not safe for work artwork on the cabinet, on the side art, and that's actually for Dillweed, who Overtime Arcade channel member, very known throughout the Claw forums. He's all over Discord, and he has a YouTube channel too. So he's now got 2 games here. He's got the Spacian cabinet, and he's got you can kind of see it poking through. Where my arm going? This moving blanket is covering up a Sega Space Tactics cockpit. So he's got to come out from Indiana. He's going to bring a box truck. He's going to grab the cockpit. He's going to grab the Spacian, and whatever else he has me pick up for him out here relatively soon. So what else have I been working on? Rebuilt my Qbert joystick, stripped the control panel. I've been working on matching laminate for both of those cabinets. Excuse me. I got the sound PCB working. The speech is working. It is making sounds. Some of the sounds aren't right, so I got a little bit of troubleshooting left to do, but fortunately that SC01 speech chip is working, so that's really good. I had a heck of a time working on my Leland quarterback. I was able to successfully deconvert it from it was converted to Ms. Pac-Man. I got it back to a working quarterback. I got the 25-inch K5500 monitor working in that. but the video, there's an issue with the board, the video coming off of it. The colors are all like washed out and not strong enough. So I got some board work I got to do there. Let's see what else. Was working on the Moon Patrol cocktail, kind of tore that all down and got everything sort of scored away to continue working on that. That was kind of disgusting. Both of these, so cocktail, so it has 2 control panels. Both of those control panels, you open them up, they were filled with mouse nests. So that was kind of interesting. So a lot of other stuff going on, but why don't we move on to projects we're all currently working on? So maybe we can go around the horn in the reverse order. So starting with Troy, you mentioned the Paperboy. What else is going on in the workshop right now?
I'm doing that. I just built a quick cocktail for one of my buddy's kids, just a 60 and one for him, and then building another real quick one for another buddy, and going to be working on that pole position as well.
You've muted yourself.
Can't hear you, Charlie.
And sorry, because I got it backwards, right? Like I can click on the screen and then I got the microphone mute. Sorry, and then I go by the light on the microphone. Like look at this fancy thing, right? It's got all these LED lighting effects, and hopefully I didn't make all kinds of noise by picking up the microphone. Any other house remodeling you're doing, Troy? What else is?
Actually, I'm going to be working on another part of the shop in the back, the first bay in the back section. I'm going to be pouring concrete back there and getting another section ready.
I'm always jealous of how well lit your workshop is. It's really great.
You know what's funny is it's just 6-inch can lights from Amazon. There's like
really
100 and some of them in there.
Well, that's good. 100 and something of them will do it.
You can put like 100 of them on a 20 amp breaker, which I have it broken up less than that, but they take so little power that you can put a ton of them on there.
Because they're LED, right?
Yeah, they take next to no power. I think it's like 13 watts per light, so it's real minimal. Yeah. But awesome. I'm building that other bay right now because I'm going to be doing the cars and everything full time now. So,
well, that's exciting. We'll get to that in a little bit. That's really, really exciting news. I think we're all, super happy to hear from you. We got another big shout out here, big name showing up in the live chat here. Sean from Classic Arcade Repair saying, "What up, everyone?" Sean is awesome. Sean's another channel that if you're watching this or listening to this, you need to be subscribed, and you probably already are, to Classic Arcade Repairs on YouTube. Talk about a channel that I'm constantly learning stuff from. Sean does a ton of PCB repairs and monitor repairs, and even like full cabinet projects, and he does pickup videos sometimes too. But really, really highly technical and often coming up with creative solutions for seemingly impossible problems. So I'm a big fan of Sean, and Sean's also the reason why my Matsushita monitor is actually working. So if you remember the Matsushita in my Kangaroo, I got it working, and then the flyback went kaput. It started arcing all over the place, the original flyback. I bought a replacement reproduction flyback on eBay. Yeah, I know, what was I expecting? And that didn't work. It didn't have, it wasn't producing enough or any heater voltage. And Sean hooked me up with a OEM working flyback from one of his parts chassis. So really awesome guy there, Sean. So thanks for coming over here. Papa Sean 69 says he's been working through Sean's channel over the last few weeks. Sean's also, if you become a channel member of Sean's channel, Classic Arcade Repairs, he's got a ton of awesome videos in the members only section there. So definitely something worth checking out. So cool. Let's go over to Kay then. Projects that you're currently working on. You said you're still kind of, hacking your way through that huge pickup that you did. Anything interesting that's really striking your fancy right now in the current queue?
So today I finished a Superman for one of my clients that was in a wide body Super Mario, or a wide body Mario Brothers cabinet. It was very lazily converted.
Taito Superman?
Yes.
With the blue Superman and the red Superman?
Mm-hmm. It was very lazily converted. It still has the 20 Easy monitor in it, and the Mario Brothers bezel was just flipped around. That's the bezel that they used for it. They at least changed the marquee. That's the only Superman art in the entire thing. And then the Mario Brothers artwork had been removed from the sides, but not very well. It's like someone just kind of grabbed it and peeled it off because all the residue was still all over the sides.
Are you
I cleaned that up a little
converting
bit.
it back?
No, he just wanted that Superman fixed because it had a monitor issue, and he just wants it back like that. Whatever, that's fine.
You say, hey, I'll trade you this beautiful Dynamo cab for that
like,
wide body.
Throw that Superman and something else and do a deconversion back to original, but it's not my machine, not my problem. I'm also working on a black hole pinball machine that has been in the shop for 1.5 years. That's also for a client. It's almost 100%. I have a few videos of it on my TikTok. The last thing to do is 3 of the 4 pop bumpers on the top playfield will stick and blow the fuse. On those System 80 pinballs, each individual pop bumper has its own board that it runs off of, and so I've ordered replacement boards for those, and that should fix the problem. And then that machine's 100%. The last video I did was doing all the cosmetics to it, changing everything to LED, putting in new rubbers, and giving everything a nice thorough cleaning. And it's night and day. It's a beautiful pin anyway. Black Hole's a really nice looking pinball machine, but whenever you do give it the proper care that it needs, it just looks fantastic, and it's kind of fun to play with the lower playfield in it as well.
Oh, it's a fun game.
The only big glaring issue is that the motor for the actual spinning black hole completely gone. So I kind of had to just
like
take
missing
it to the inside. Yeah, it has just straight up jacked, just gone. So I just kind of had to tape that to the inside of the back glass, but it still looks okay. It just doesn't spin. Coming up next for repairs, I'm working on a Street Fighter 2 for a client and a Star Trek pinball machine for another client. Also, the Qbert that I've been asking for a soundboard for a while, I kind of gave up on that, and I just picked up one of those FPGA boards that'll play Qbert, and it has the sound and speech and everything on it. It'll run the knocker in the cabinet and everything too. And it seems to, I haven't installed it yet, but from my research, it seems to play pretty faithfully, and it's one of those boards that, since it's FPGA, you wouldn't know that it's not original unless you actually opened up the back and took a look. So that's good enough for me, and it's good enough for the client that's going to buy it whenever it's finished. So I'm perfectly happy with that solution. They also make an adapter, so I don't have to hack up any of the wiring.
There is
more reliable,
one
cheaper
with the J-Rock on Qbert, if I remember correctly, and that is that the knocker in Qbert is 24 volts, and the J-Rock can only drive 12.
To get different.
I don't think it's a J-Rock though. I'm not sure. It's whatever one I bought from Arcade Shop. So I don't know.
That would be the J-Rock.
J-Rock. Okay.
Yeah, you just have to get a different. What's it called?
A different solenoid.
Different solenoid.
Yeah.
Arcade Shop sells them too. The 12 volt ones.
So I think it actually had it had something in the manual about that. So I'll get all that taken care of. If I remember correctly, the fuse is blown for that solenoid anyway, so that coil's probably bad regardless. But as far as what's coming up soon, I think that about covers it.
Awesome. Before we go to Kate, we'll check back in with the live chat again. Sean, again from Classic Arcade Repairs. Notice the timber that I have over my shoulder here. Said that he fixed a timber set today. Awesome, fun game. Definitely agree with you. And he says it's actually running as we chat. Should probably go check it out. Make sure it hasn't died. Unfortunately, I think you missed maybe the beginning of the podcast, Sean. This is not my timber. This belongs to a buddy of mine, and he is going to be picking it up from right here in my garage in about half an hour. He's coming over. His name is Troy, not to be confused with our guest here. He's going to be picking up alongside Kapow from Kapow's Arcade on YouTube. Those guys live. Kapow lives about an hour away from me, and Troy lives a couple more hours away. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so Liam, over to you. What's currently occupying the workbench at the Retro Robotics Lab?
We're doing a bit of tinkering with the 6-player X-Men. We've had sound issues with it, as is expected with Konami. So I went through the process yesterday and removed the original sound chip, socketed it, recapped the PCB. Had a heart attack when I put it back in the cabinet, and it was coming up with static on the screen. Turned out a tiny glob of solder had fallen down and shorted out 2 other chips, which was never great, but removed that and it was working fine. Unfortunately, the repro didn't work, but the original chip is still sort of working. I guess the recap of the board helped it out a bit, so it'll keep on limping along until I get another repo to put in there. Other than that, we've got that Konami out in the garage. That's going to become Aliens. It needs quite a bit of work. Needs new paint, needs fixing holes, bondo. It's seen some water in the past, and it's got a Hanthorex. So we've got a cap kit for that Hanthorex, and I'm going to try not to kill myself with it. Try to make sure it comes back to life, because the monitor actually is fairly nice. It could be because it's a Hanthorex. It didn't see a lot of use. Absolutely zero burn.
It's been dead for 20 years.
Exactly. It's like our Firefox monitor, the Amplifone Raster. It's just absolutely gorgeous, burn free, because it's been dead since the 80s.
Well, and that's like with Matsushida's. Everyone's like, "Wow, what a beautiful burn free monitor!" It's because it was broken when it came from the factory.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think those are the two big projects that we're working on. We got the art package for the 6-player X-Men coming in on Monday. So we're going to be giving it the final touch-ups it needs before it's sort of settled. And we've got joystick rebuilds, trackball rebuilds. We're going to work on our Crystal Castles a bit to get both of its trackballs fixed. And that's about it for right now.
Well, and you and Sam are, of course, experts at rebuilding trackballs, kind of doing it as a his and hers kind of project together.
Yeah, we got all
Right.
these Atari cocktails too. So we've got plenty to work on that need rebuilds.
Nice. Okay. So I think that's back to me then. So projects I'm currently working on. So the Jungle King has been something I've been focused on lately. I'm almost done stripping the paint off. So, I've done a bunch of videos where I really like using a technique where lay the cabinet on its side, cover it in paper towels, soak those paper towels in isopropyl alcohol, throw saran wrap onto it to keep the isopropyl from drying out, and give it several hours until the paint really starts wrinkling off. But you really can't do that with a particle board cabinet, because that moisture will wick in there and just start expanding. And another one of my channel members, Arcade Restore Noob, on he's got a YouTube channel. He's restoring a jungle hunt that had been converted to a Rygar or Rastan. I forget, but he's restoring it back to that converted game, which is his favorite game, I think. And he tried doing the isopropyl and saran wrap technique, and the particle board sides of his cabinet just sort of almost broke out like a pizza face, type of situation. So the only other alternative, if you don't want to strip it down to bare wood and redo those stencils on a cabinet like this, is to painstakingly wax on, wax off with a magic eraser, and constantly spraying isopropyl. And so I've got one side completely done. I've got the front done, which is really easy because it's just sort of two things on either side of the coin door opening. And I'm about halfway done with the other side. So hoping to finish that pretty soon. What else have I been doing with the Jungle King? Oh, I've got it over here on my bench. So what normal people do, so the linear power supply in these classic Taitos, so Jungle King, Jungle Hunt, Elevator Action, that sort of thing, are the power supplies in those are notoriously bad. They are way overcomplicated, and they just go bad all the time. So every sane person in the world just gets rid of them and replaces them with a switching power supply. They say, just do it. You're done with it. The board works fine off of a switcher. But because I'm a lunatic and I feel driven to at least try to fix these sort of things, I am attempting to rebuild a linear power supply, classic Taito linear power supply. I also basically got it for free. It was donated to me by one of my channel members, Photo Boy, who also has a YouTube channel called Random Fun and Games. So I've got it to the point where it's only blowing one fuse reliably.
Such an
And
improvement.
anyway,
Progress.
I got just today, I got 3 different suppliers delivered parts that I needed for this thing, because I'm I'm going to replace all the transistors, the bridge rectifiers, all of the diodes, the tantalum caps, and I think that will solve my problem. This
So
power
in that
supply
list,
has...
What are you
Go
not
ahead.
replacing?
All the resistors, the ICs. This thing is ridiculously complicated, right? It's got 4 2N3055 bottle cap transistors. One of them is on a heat sink on the board. 3 of them are on a remote heat sink, kind of like a Williams heat sink, but it has 3 on that one. It's got 3 different bridge rectifiers, 3 different filter caps. I'm not replacing the filter caps. The whole power supply only has I think the only electrolytic caps on the thing are the filter caps. 3 huge filter caps on the thing. So anyway, I got parts from Peter at arcadepartsrepair.com, from DigiKey, and from Electronics Express. That was the only way I could get, because there's like just really esoteric. There's like a weird diode on it, and anyway. So that'll be good at some point. We have half a dozen in the live chat saying they're trying to restore their marriage, and Kay offered the very helpful suggestion of soaking it in alcohol. And then we've got Russ from Penner Station checking in, another Overtime Arcade channel member and a longtime viewer of the podcast. So let's see. Other than the Jungle King, also. Yeah, I'm redoing the control panel. So I bought an original control panel on Clav. Had never been converted, so I don't have to fix any of the metal. But the CPO is all trash, so I've got it right here. Freshly stripped the old control panel or CPO off, and it's all sanded and painted. All the rust is gone. So this is probably ready tomorrow for the new CPO to go onto it, which is great. Got one from This Old Game. So making progress on the Jungle King. And then I think the next thing in the queue, so that Jungle King video will come out a week from tomorrow on my channel. And then I think that the next one that I want to dig out of the queue that will make Russell from Penner Station very happy is the Defender that I picked up a few months back. So I'm going to spend some more time with the Defender, which is kind of buried back there. So lots of stuff going on. And so our last sort of typical roundup question, and I'll take the first crack at this myself, what sort of upcoming plans we have, right? So sort of, if you've never noticed a pattern before with these update questions, it's basically, what have you done? What are you doing right now? And what are you going to be doing in the future, right? So my upcoming future plans, in addition to that Defender, I was going to say that I had a pickup scheduled, but I actually did it today already. So I recently won a couple of PCBs at Jaybird Auctions. So Jaybird Auctions is where, so they're in Frederick, Maryland, so like an hour away from me. Everything's like an hour away from me. I got my Future Spy from them last year. So Jaybird Auctions, run by Amanda. She is the daughter of Lloyd from CoinOp Warehouse, and the sister of Ben from CoinOp Amusement. So kind of a family sort of, solar system of companies there. So very, very cool. I'll do a video at some point about those 2 PCBs that I picked up, and I might have to buy a costume to take a funny thumbnail for one of those games. Let's see. What I need, so parts that I need, I still need a Jungle King glass bezel, like the artwork bezel. I've had a couple of leads. I think a couple of folks are a little bit squeamish about shipping a glass bezel like this, which I totally understand. But if there's somebody out there that's got a extra Jungle King glass bezel and is willing to ship it, or I can maybe pick it up for you if you're somewhere in my journeys, but the path of my journeys. I'm going to be ordering the depth chart art package soon from Galloping Ghost Reproductions. I think we talked about this before. They recently added it to their inventory. I need to order the Qbert art packages and the laminate for Qbert for the 2 cabinets that I'm doing. I've been doing matching laminate, whatever. I think I found one that's probably a decent one. I've been also looking at laminate samples for the Moon Patrol. So I am going to try to save the wood of the Moon Patrol cocktail that have been left out in the rain for a couple of months. Hey, Sean, take care. I really appreciate you stopping by, buddy. but I'm going to rip off the current sort of veneer off of the cocktail and replace it with new laminate. So that should be good. And lastly, finally got an update on my Ms. Pac-Man stencils. So breaking news here. I ordered these stencils from This Old Game back in December of 2022. And I, excuse me, I just got a PM from Clav, our PM on Clav from Rich from This Old Game, that they actually missed my order, and they're going to kind of rush do it and make it up to me with free shipping, which is not going to be cheap because, and my headset just died, sorry. These shipping these stencils is not cheap, so I really appreciate Rich coming through for me there, Rich and Kendra. So that should be exciting, and that's really the last thing I need to finish the Miss Pac project. Although I think I've decided I'm going to repurpose the monitor, the Geo7 that I had rebuilt for the Miss Pac-Man. I'm going to stick that in a different cabinet and pick one of my monitors with really severe pack burn and throw that in the Miss Pac-Man. Otherwise, I'll never be able to use that. Tube and another monitor. A couple more folks chiming in. We got Josh from Encore's Arcade, who's also an Overtime Arcade channel member, checking in, and Angelina joking, if you want to restore your marriage, throw out your video games. Very funny, Angelina. Okay, so then let's go back through to Troy. So what's coming up? What do you got planned? You know, what's in the queue after you finish the Paperboy? You know, what else is coming down the road?
I got quite a few games in the back building. I think I sent you some pictures of them in the past. There's probably at least 20 back there, but I do have to do Stargate next because I've been promising somebody that I would do a Stargate, and I got to do it next. So that's going to be next after the Paperboy gets finished up.
What other highlights are in that stack of 20 you got? The
Oh boy, you put me on a spot now. I got to think what I have back there. There's a Turtles cabinet back there. There is a Stern cabinet back there. I think there's another one or two Taito cabinets. I'll have to think about it. I can't remember.
Okay.
There's a lot back there.
And any other big plans going on right now?
No, not really. Getting anxious to start working full time again. So sitting around for 5-6 weeks really sucks.
With the bum knee, yeah. None of us is getting any younger.
No. And I'm not one to sit around, so it's really difficult.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like I've been saying, you know, I've always been so inspired by your work ethic and just, you know, how fast you crank through so much, and like all the videos that you do and everything. So I'm sure it's torture to be hobbled temporarily as it is. Yeah. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah. Kay, over to you.
I got a Tempest to do.
What's up?
I got a Tempest.
Nice.
I need to do. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, Kay, over to you. What's in the future for Prime Arcade?
I've also got a Tempest, but that's just in the giant pile, so it's probably not anywhere soon. I have 2 cabinets that were part of that large pickup. One of them was just this very generic cabinet. The marquee is just blue plexi, and it's the same blue plexi that they used for the control panel. Cheap joystick and buttons. I couldn't even tell what it was because there's no artwork on it. And I opened it up and took a look in the back to find that it is a Versus Super Mario Brothers. It's got the board set inside the cage. It's got a 20EZ monitor in it. It's like, oh, that's not what I was expecting to find. I figured I'd just find some, you know, bootleg game in there, some cheap board. But no, it's a nice full Versus Super Mario Brothers setup. It's not a great cabinet for it, so I intend to, first of all, try to get it to work. But I was going to pull those things out and maybe find a different cabinet for it, or just set it aside as parts with all my other parts that are lying around. But there's also, and I mentioned this last time, an extremely janky looking bootleg Tetris that just has Tetris like on the marquee that's just like written out on the generic background. A very oddly made bezel because it's not the right cabinet for it. So it's very tall. I think it's meant for a 25-inch monitor mounted vertically. So they printed out a bezel and then just printed a bunch of extra white space on the top to sit above it to fill the empty space.
Huh.
And then the monitor that's in it's like this 17-inch LCD that's just kind of suspended on these weird hooks. It's janky.
Like,
it looks janky.
It's hanging.
Let's say
It's hanging in there.
It's hard to. I have to take pictures of it. It's hard to describe, but there's basically these two pieces hanging down that the monitor's attached to, but it's extremely flimsy. So you can just shake it, and the whole monitor just goes right back and forth. Like it's janky is the only way to describe it. My plan is to take the Tetris stuff out of that cabinet and put it into the cabinet that the Super Mario Brothers is in right now. I ordered the marquee and side art and stuff for it, and I can use that bezel that he made. I just have to cut off the unnecessary part at the top, and I can make a pretty decent Tetris out of that cabinet, and then figure out what I want to do with this other cabinet once I pull that janky monitor and clean it up a little bit, because I'm not even sure what cabinet it's supposed to be or was originally, but it'll probably make a decent multicade if nothing else. But I'll make videos on those.
Well, and Levi Patterson in the live chat just a little bit earlier was saying he recently picked up a Tetris for his wife and she loves it. I think everybody loves Tetris, but him and his wife love it so much that he drove 12 hours round trip for it. So very, very cool there. And I know Levi was sharing pictures of that with me privately, which is really cool. So yeah, what else is cooking out in Texas?
I can definitely sell a Tetris. So I wanted to transfer that over to a better cabinet and get it the proper artwork and get it into a nice looking machine. Not a part I'm looking for, but part of that pickup was a very, very odd looking breakout cabinet, originally Atari breakout cabinet.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been in a fire. That's the only way to describe it. And it hasn't, but like someone just painted it with this textured black paint. It's kind of like, it feels like
rhino lining for a pickup truck.
Like a popcorn ceiling, but black.
Wow.
Just painted all over the cabinet and painted on everything. It's all over the control panel. It's all over the brackets for the marquee. It's all over, which the marquee is just a Pac-Man marquee because someone converted this into a bootleg Pac-Man. Doesn't even have a Pac-Man board. It has a bootleg Pac-Man board inside of it. And
sacrilege. Steve Jobs is rolling in his grave.
But it has an Ally coin door, which is also coated in the same paint.
So weird.
The cabinet's in terrible condition. I'm probably just going to part it out, but that means I've got an Ally coin door that needs a lot of work, but could potentially be restored. You'd have to strip all that nasty paint off and then probably give it like some sandblasting or something to really get it, looking good again. But I mean, that's mainly the reason why I grabbed that cabinet instead of just throwing it in the garbage. It's like, maybe I can use that coin door. Maybe I can pull some parts out of this thing. But that cabinet's just going to be stripped and set outside. There's a pickup I'm doing tomorrow where I'm doing a trade. I sold a high-speed pinball machine, and as part of the payment, I'm getting back a couple of machines that I had repaired for this guy previously. I'm getting a Trog and a Popeye, and they're both still working. I repaired them less than a year ago. So the Popeye especially, I rebuilt the monitor on, and everything's working great on it. The only thing it lacks is side art. So I've ordered some side art for it. I should be able to just slap that on there and put it up for sale. And then the Trog, I think, doesn't need anything. I'll go through everything first just to ensure that it's all good to go. But since I repaired them less than a year ago and they're still working, I can pretty safely assume that not a whole lot's going to have to be done to them. So I'm going to get that Trog, going to get that Popeye, and then hopefully fix up that Pac-Man Cabaret I just picked up, and I can throw all three in the showroom at the same time.
Another prolific guy there. So Kay, you and Troy are definitely making us rank amateurs. Liam and I feel insignificant against your full-time efforts. So
yeah, all you gotta do is quit your job and take it full-time. It motivates you like nothing else.
There you go. Work or starve, right? So Kay, we'll kick it back to you. Liam, we'll kick it back to you. Last but not least, what's going on? What's on the horizon? What's coming up soon in your workshop and your channel? Any parts you're looking for? And while you do that, I'm going to go and open up my garage door because I think Troy and Kapow are going to be here any second.
Artwork is on the horizon. We have the new marquee and new character panel for the 6-player X-Men in the other room coming in the mail, hopefully Monday. And we also have a full art package coming in for Major Havoc, which is very exciting to do, because our Major Havoc, the side art is incredibly damaged. Usually we would leave damaged side art. I mean, the side of X-Men looks like Wolverine himself came and attacked it, but there's nothing left of Major Havoc. So very excited to see how new that cabinet can be made. As for parts we're looking for, not much. Tinted glass for Lunar Lander would be nice. It still has an asteroids panel on it because that's all I've got. And that's about it. As for games, we could always use a Q*bert. We are still looking for a Q*bert. We have been screwed a couple times on Q*bert. So
tell us a little bit about that. You've been what would I say? You've been hoodwinked, or you've come very, very close a couple of times.
In the last month, we've had 2 deals on Q*berts where we have agreed on a date and time to go pick up this game, only for the night before the seller to come back and say, nope, changed my mind. And that sucks. Q*bert's the top of our list. So that was unfortunate. But we'll get one eventually. It's just come on. Date and time.
Well, and you were literally ready to hit the road in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. It was literally the night before on the first time. We had the date for like a week, a little more than a week, and we were getting ready to go, and it's like, nope, just changed my mind. I'm going to keep that, which is unfortunate, but it's within their right to do. What are you going to do? Until it's in your car, a deal is not done.
Well, and the worst one was, the guy was like, "Oh, that was a mistake."
Oh yeah, that was literally yesterday, the day before, where we had a deal on a Q*bert that we were going to go get, and he was like, "Oops, sorry, I mistook the price. Take the list down." And then
it wasn't just that, right? You had agreed on a deal.
Yeah, we agreed on.
You had scheduled a pickup. You had made a deposit, and mere hours before you were going to hit the road, he said, "Whoops, sorry, I actually forgot. There should be another
$1,000 more."
Exactly.
$1,000 more. And I was like, no. So I did at least get my deposit back, which is good.
You did? That's good.
It is what it is, I guess.
Angelina in the live chat is telling me I should trade you my Q*bert. I would if it wasn't spoken for. So one of these is going to be mine. And the other one is already spoken for by my buddy Mark. And I'm going to do it the way for it's going to go into his arcade, which will be open to the public. But it's going to be a J-Rock, and it's going to have a Cortec monitor in it. So not the most authentic thing in the world. It might have a reproduction joystick. So something good for a public arcade. And, and we're trying to get Liam and Sam the Q*bert. They've come so close a couple times.
And we've got also 2 empty spaces in that other room, right? There are 2 spaces, and one of them's going to be Solar Fox, and the other one holding out for a Q*bert.
There you go. It'll happen. It'll happen at some point. Also want to give a big shout out to the Wicked Arcade in the live chat. He says, "Yikes, I'm late. Sup, fellas? Sup, Troy? Really happy to have you here with us in the live chat." So yeah, so I think that does it for our standard updates. And now we're going to get into the main event. And who is, I got an update from my pickup. Kapow says he's on the way now. Do you mind if our friends come with us? We won't stay long. So it's about to be a party over here live on the podcast. So I told him to come on over. So, okay, with that out of the way, some special guests. I don't know who the other people are, but hopefully it's not a line of people waiting to use my bathroom.
Maybe they're bringing over some celebrities. Just be like, and also, I brought Dennis Rodman. Okay, what?
I got kids that are sleeping in the house, so I don't know if I'm really ready to host a Rodman party. Cool. So with that out of the way, it's over time for our main event right at the top of the hour, which is, who is this guy on your screen here? Troy from Troy's Restorations. We're going to learn all about Troy. So why don't we start out, going back to the beginning, Troy. How did you get into this hobby in the first place? How did you get started? Where did this all come from? Why do you do this? What makes you do what you do?
It all started about 10 years ago, I'd say. It was Christmas and we redid the basement for the kids. They were real little at the time. And we bought that puzzle piece looking flooring, that foam flooring. And we put that all down. And then we put a bounce house and everything down here. I want to say the kids were like 4 and 10 at the time or something like that. My oldest now is 21 yesterday. And that pretty much turned into WrestleMania. So everybody started getting hurt and stuff like that. But I played a lot of like Golden Tee and stuff in my 20s at the bar. And I always wanted a golf game. So I ended up finding a golf game. I think it was like US Classic. It ended up sucking. But I got it real cheap. And that was the first game I ever bought. And then after that, I ended up buying a California Speed. And it was broken. I bought it for like $50 broken. And I literally worked on that thing for weeks, watched YouTube videos, and ended up fixing it. And then at that point, it was just on. I started building some cabinets of my own. And then I started restoring them. And I like the restoring way better personally. I'd rather have something that was original than, something that I built.
So that was the impetus. And how did we get from those humble beginnings to this huge collection that you have and everything that you're doing? Like, what was that road? What was that journey like?
You know what? When I started finding these games 10 years ago, everything was cheap, and then everything started getting really expensive. I just enjoy it. I don't play them a ton. I love fixing them. I like buying the stuff that I know nobody else is going to want to fix, just the pure junk. And I fix it because I don't want it to go to waste, And it just kind of progressed like that. I spent my whole life in construction and fixing people's houses and stuff like that. So it was just kind of natural, restoring cars and all that stuff. So it was I just kind of fell in love with doing it,
Very, very familiar. Very familiar. Yeah. So in your collection, which has grown way beyond the US Golf and the, what was the second one?
California Speed.
California Speed. So what would you say is kind of the focus of your collection? Are there certain genres that you gravitate towards? Are there eras or manufacturers or what do you kind of really like the most?
Early 80s, early to mid 80s, the classics. I do have some racing games and stuff like that, but when we have people over, all the kids gravitate to the racing, so I try to always have a pair of racing games linked together so that they can race each other. Which I like them too, but I really enjoy the 80s games.
Oh, and we got I just got a private message from Jumping General. There is a Kubert cabinet for sale. He wanted me to send this to Liam. Sorry to derail the conversation. Oh, never mind.
Is it Wayne's?
Yes. We know that seller. We try to avoid that seller. He has done Liam and Sam wrong in the past, so he's not necessarily on the "we'll never buy from" list, but definitely on the extreme skepticism list. So sorry to derail that. Thank you for trying to help Jumping General, but
thank you so much.
Not that one. Okay, so we talked a little bit about what you're currently working on. Are there some games that have escaped you? Kind of like the Kubert for Liam and Sam. What are you on the hunt for? What's that white whale that you've been chasing? What are those games that you just haven't been able to find?
I've been on the hunt for a what the heck's the name of it? Spy Hunter, and I just missed one like 2 months ago for $400, and it seems like every time I never can get to it quick enough.
$400 Spy Hunter.
Yep, stand up.
Because that's like at the top of my list too. I mean, ideally, I would want a sit down.
Yeah, but
where did you see a $400 Spy Hunter?
It was on Marketplace.
I've seen one for free on Marketplace. It went real fast.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
but yeah, I was probably like the second or third to respond to it, and it was already gone.
Yeah,
got to be quick.
Was it near you?
I think it was about 2 hours away. Wasn't bad. I would have definitely gotten in the van and went and got it.
That's nothing. What else? So Spy Hunter, any other games that are kind of, you've got a soft spot in your heart for that you haven't been able to pick up yet?
Not really. And the more that I've collected over the years, the more that I found games that I never even knew about and really enjoy playing them, like Zookeeper and stuff like that. I
Solar
never played
Fox?
those.
I've never heard of Solar Fox.
Right. Yeah, me either.
never saw one growing up.
I have heard of it and I had seen it before, but I never played it. And then I got it and started playing it. And I really actually like it. It's actually a real fun game. Even Satan's Hollow is another real fun game I like. But I'm really big into Galaga, so I like Galaga a lot. So it kind of makes sense that I would like Satan's Hollow.
And speaking of the devil, even though not to be confused with Satan's Hollow, where you're actually fighting the devil, we got Gibby in the live chat. He is. This is Gibby's timber, so I think they are on the way. I think they might have just left the pinball arcade that they were at, and every time a car goes by, I think it might be them. But yeah, Gibby, come on over, come say hi to our hundreds of millions of people viewing live right now. We're up to 270 million concurrent viewers at the moment, so really, really cool. So okay, so let's see, Troy. Of all the games that you either have or have played or whatever, what would you say is your absolute top favorite? And if you can't pick just one, a couple is okay, but what are those kind of just top cream of the crop for you, and tell us why?
I would say the top 4 would be Galaga. Played that a lot as a kid. Zookeeper, that I just fell into playing when I found one. Believe it or not, Jump Bug. I actually like Jump Bug. I think that's a pretty fun game.
Interesting choice.
And Robotron. I like Robotron quite a bit. Suck at it, but I like it. I would say that's probably my top 4. I like Tapper. I think Tapper is a pretty cool game as well. I like pretty much all of them. But I definitely gravitate towards like Zookeeper and Galaga and stuff like that.
Pretty much all of them except Zaxxon.
Yeah. Well, I know, and I,
my Zaxxon sits in the corner. I don't think anybody plays it.
There was a funny thread that was going on Clav, I don't know, a couple weeks or months ago, and it was like, thinking of your friends' collections, what are the games that you would most want to get from them, right? If they were selling or whatever. And I think, thinking about what you have compared to what I have, I am very, very jealous of your Solar Fox, as we've mentioned. And if folks out there are not familiar with Solar Fox, maybe I would describe it as like a combination of Pac-Man and Galaga kind of together, right? So you're shooting, but you're also like going in a maze kind of thing, like going in a grid and picking up pellets. It's really, really kind of interesting. And Bubbles, of course. I love Bubbles. I want a Bubbles. I think, I think I remember when you picked up the Bubbles, I had seen that listing too. It was, I thought it was too far away from me. And I like said, oh, look at this. I wonder who got this. And I think this is the one you're like, oh yeah, I'm on my way back with that.
I think
right now.
It was in New York. I think it took me about 3 hours.
Yeah,
to get there.
like Rochester or something.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours. I think it took. I haven't really had much a chance to play that. It's definitely a fun game.
Oh, it really is. And the artwork on it is amazing.
Right. Definitely.
It's great.
And fixing all that original artwork, trying to just touch it up with brushes and stuff, it takes time, and trying to match the colors and stuff like that. Because me personally would rather touch up the artwork on something like that than to re-stencil it,
I always say I would much rather take a like C quality original over a quality reproduction. And the mention of Zaxxon has kicked off a bunch of reactions in the live chat. Hey, you coming to its defense and saying Zaxxon is the greatest game ever. Angelina saying Zaxxon is a crazy hard game, but fun. I would definitely agree with the first half of that. Another friend of the podcast, Brandon, who goes by Advance 13 on Clav. He has the Off-World Arcade on Twitch, where he goes by Deckard995. He's been doing awesome weekly live streams on Twitch of gameplay, and I usually have him running in the background while I'm working on stuff in the garage, which is great to kind of watch him playing stuff. And on Twitch, they have this thing where you earn points just for like watching people, right? And you accumulate these points, and the streamer can have these like rewards, right? Like often there's like really cheap rewards where it only takes a couple of points, and you can click a button which like triggers a soundboard to like say something funny or inappropriate, when they're doing whatever. And it was kind of like the Pepsi Points challenge, if you remember that commercial where they had Pepsi Points back in, I think, the early 90s, where you save up Pepsi Points and you redeem them for prizes like a t-shirt or a hat or whatever. And they had at the end of the commercial, if you saved up something like 8 million Pepsi Points, you could get a Harrier fighter jet, right? And some kids saved up those points and like called Pepsi's bluff and sued them because they wouldn't give them a jet. But Brandon did something where he's like, oh, if you have 10,000 points, you can force me to play Zaxxon. And I saved up my points for months, and I forced him to play Zaxxon for half an hour on one of his previous live streams. So that was a ton of fun.
The reason why I have a Zaxxon is I got it really cheap, and as a kid, I played it on the Commodore 64 quite a bit, actually. So
it's probably better on the C64.
I think it's easier to play on 64, actually.
All right. So another thing we like to talk about with guests is any horror stories, whether it's been working on repairing, restoring these games, or collecting them, or picking them up. Anything that's like really funny, or some kind of something went horribly wrong. Any kind of horror stories like that for you?
I mean, I've necked a monitor or two in my day. I think everybody has.
Unfortunately,
I remember working on I think it was a racing game or something years ago, and it was on, and I was testing voltages, and there was a bunch of cut wires in the cabinet when I had gotten the game, and a wire, I kind of took them all and put them up to the side, and they had fallen down, and they had 12 volts going to them, and they landed right on the circuit board, wiped everything out in the whole cabinet pretty much. That was probably one of the worst things I ever did as far as breaking something.
Everything just shot.
Oh yeah, it fried the board. The board was unrepairable. Yeah. As far as pickups, terrible. I pretty much, most of my pickups have been pretty darn good. Especially like if I go far, I try to wedge 2 of them in my van at once. Because I don't want to come back with just one. But the funny thing is like all the games that I have, I pretty much remember where I got every single one from. You know what I mean? I remember the people I got them from. I remember driving to get them and all that stuff, which is pretty cool to me. I really enjoy these old games and looking at them too. It's kind of like artwork in a way. Are they here?
My guests have arrived. I was expecting a trailer, but I guess it's just a pickup truck. So I'm going to adjust it just a little bit, just in case I don't want to dox this guy and have his license plate show up. But we'll give him a couple of minutes to get squared away.
You should let's see.
I should, yeah. Speaking of automobiles, Troy, you mentioned, we've talked about how you also restore cars. So tell us a little bit about that too. That's also, you've got a couple different channels, so that's right. A big part of what you do in videos too. So tell us about kind of your history restoring cars.
Before I tell you about that, I was just reminded that when I was restoring the basement a couple months ago, I was shuffling the games around from one side to the other, and I actually knocked over a shooting game and it right on its face, and the glass and everything never broke the 25-inch monitor. So somehow I got lucky with that one.
Yeah, I've had a game fall off the back of the truck, and the monitor did not survive.
So a couple of weirdos just walked into my garage. They'll hear you, but you won't be able to hear them.
Evening all.
Yeah. I warned them not to say anything that's going to get me kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah,
so.
No bad language on our part.
This is Gibby, who was in the live chat earlier, and this is a face that might be familiar, Kapow from Kapow's Arcade. We'll put a link down in the live chat, and we'll put it in the show notes. So they're here to pick up. Oh, there's another gentleman here. I thought you were going to have your trailer or something.
No.
I saw the pickup truck coming backwards. I'm like, oh, that's kind of bold.
Yeah. No. That wouldn't have been me.
I should have brought the trailer, but
So this is Gibby's Timber. So Gibby has a pretty incredible collection. How many games do you have? 150, 200, something like that?
In the arcade right now, about 130.
130 in the
And
arcade.
then about another 200 in the warehouse.
So over 300 games. I was mistaken. One that he doesn't have is Timber. I think, did Dell pick this up for you somewhere?
Yeah, Dell picked it up in Connecticut.
And then transferred it to Jeff Kinder's storage unit in New
Exactly,
Jersey.
which
And then I picked it up from Jeff Kinder's storage unit, brought it down here. It's been sitting here for a month or two. And Gibby lives
actually.
five.
no, not here, but yeah.
Oh, you got.
But I
you
bought it
bought
back
it.
in September.
In September, okay. And you live up like 3 or 4 hours away from me, but you were up visiting Kapow, who doesn't live too far away.
Exactly.
And it's been very tempting not to
Plug it in
tear
and
into
play
this
it.
thing
Yeah,
and try to.
You should have.
Well, if something breaks, I didn't want to be responsible for it.
So that would
So,
have been the best part.
but it's been a beautiful part of the background. So I'm glad you're here to take it and cherish it.
We'll find another one for you to pick up.
And, well, you've also got. Don't forget, that's
debates.
over to the next. Next to it is a pedestal for a track and field cocktail. So the 4-player track and field cocktail. Designed to sit at, right? 2 players on either side, but you can raise it up on this pedestal to make it more like standing height.
Exactly. And that was courtesy of Jeff Kinder.
Also,
The extra one
Jeff
we
Kinder,
had,
yeah.
yep.
He had 2 in his storage unit. He gave you the less nice one, just
Yeah.
so you know.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The game needs to be
Expect no
restored.
less from Jeff. Yeah.
Any other random parts you guys needed while you're here?
Oh.
Ah,
I think Gibby's trying.
oh
to
yeah,
get
this
rid
is
of
one I
random
picked up
parts.
for you a while ago.
You did, but
Yeah.
what's funny? Come here, look at this.
What you got? You got another one?
Look back there.
Oh, nice. Number 2.
I got a second one. So I got a pickup video coming out tomorrow where I got the second Outrun Mini and that Neo Geo One Slap that is in a very interesting cabinet that was converted from.
Yeah, that's what
You know what it is? Don't give the story away. But I'll mute for a second.
Well, let's let him do what he's doing.
This
He
just
just
got
asked you
awkward.
about
Charlie,
he just asked you about restoring cars. Did you want to talk some more about that?
Troy, you're muted.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, my mouse cord got really short and I couldn't reach the bottom of the screen. I started painting cars actually when I was about 13 years old, and just once again fell in love with restoring and working on cars, and been doing it ever since. 48 years old now, so been doing it a long time. And then people started bringing me cars, and I've been fixing them for other people for years. And now that my knee is so messed up that it's just going to be doing that full time now. So fingers crossed I find enough work. I have quite a bit lined up right now, but we'll see how it goes.
What's the very first car that you worked on?
A 79 Chevy Caprice Classic was the first car, which was my brother's car. Yep, that was the first one.
And what is your favorite that you've currently been working on?
I'm finishing up that 59 Impala convertible right now, which is going to be going to California.
Really, shipping all the way out there?
Yeah, everybody in California buys those cars. They never stay around here in Ohio. It's going to the upholstery shop, I think, in a week or two, as soon as I get the rest of the parts to finish it. And
But
then it's
Ohio's
off
the
there.
promised land, right? That's where all the games come from.
Yeah, I know.
Keep seeing
That's
them
where
out
my
there.
my Journey cabinet came from, Washington State, actually.
Really? And you
Yeah.
shipped it out?
Yep, I had it shipped to me from there.
We only ever shipped one game. It was a space shuttle pinball machine. It's found in a barn, and we still haven't fixed it.
Yeah. I used some trucking company. They did a really good job. I had no complaints with them, and I've actually had really good luck with Fastenal. I've probably used them about 5 or
Yeah,
6
that's
times.
what we used. We used Fastenal to move that pinball.
Never had a problem with them. I
Everything
know a lot
else
of
we've
people have horror
driven.
stories about it, but you know what? I buy junk, so I probably don't even know if it even gets damaged on the way
Was
here.
the Journey junk when you bought it?
I
No.
only buy junk.
But it was just a empty cabinet. But I already had a circuit board, so finding the rest of the parts really weren't too bad.
You see, I've only used North American fan lines when it comes to shipping either to or from but they're the complete white glove service, so they do everything. I don't have to take anything to like a terminal or port or anything like that. But I have had decent luck with them. I shipped stuff to Washington. I shipped a Quantum and a Black Widow and a Frogger to a guy up near Seattle, and everything seemed to arrive without any damage.
Yeah, because when I bought the Journey, I was just hoping that Fastenal would bring it, but they won't come that far. They won't come.
Yeah,
from
they stop at the Mississippi line.
And I didn't know that when I bought the game, so I call Fastenal, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't do that." And I'm like scrambling around trying to find.
Well, actually, Fastenal. I was looking into this a lot because we had that pinball shipped over, and they had weird size restrictions, but they actually have different size restrictions for each subsection across each side of the country. And it does not actually seem to be hard and fast, because they told me in one spot that I couldn't ship that pinball machine.
Mm-hmm.
Then I talked to the representative in the next one, and they agreed to set it up.
I think it
and
was
then shipped it to me. So
I think it was last summer or the summer before, I was trying to get some games from Virginia. I think it was, and
yeah,
Fastenal
Virginia
wouldn't
has
ship
those limits.
Yeah, they wouldn't ship it, and then I ended up I know a guy and he went and picked them up for me and brought them to me. I should have just made the trip myself. It was 2 games. I could have thrown them in my van. I think it was like 6 or 7 hours each way. It would have sucked.
We've definitely done 6-7 hours. I think our record is 9 hours one way for X-Men, the 4-player before we got our 6-player.
Yeah,
and that was to Michigan from Virginia and back.
I just go, man. I don't stop other than gas, and go to the bathroom, and I usually just make a round trip.
What's your longest round trip without?
I'd probably say 14 hours by myself.
One way?
No, round trip. 14 hours, 7 hours each way. But literally, I just get there, I throw it in the van as quick as possible, and turn around and start driving back.
We've done a few of those recently. That was our major havoc. Just up to upstate New York and right back.
Yep.
Liam, you said you had a space shuttle pinball that's in your queue.
Yeah.
I think that's a System 9, right?
Systems, it might be, yeah.
Yeah. I think I have a completely working MPU for that. So if you end up needing that, I think I've got one on my shelf.
Maybe. I got the MPU mostly working. The only issue we have with it is no sound. It does not generate any sound whatsoever.
That would be an issue. Yeah, if you need that MPU, let me know, because it's just sitting in a box on my shelf. I had a space shuttle a long time ago that I thought was having issues with the MPU, so I bought a repro replacement, and it turned out to not fix my problem. That did help me narrow it down, so it was just a wiring issue, but I do believe that the original MPU there's nothing wrong with it. I just have it in a box, so if you need it,
we got this thing out of it was in a barn in Arizona for $500, and we shipped it out with Fastenal for $200, and we got it playing mostly, again, no sound, but it's just in terrible shape. It needs a hard top. It needs a whole bunch of other stuff to get it in decent shape, and it's been sort of sitting there in the corner of the workshop intimidating me all this time. Eventually I will knuckle down and fix it, but we'll find out when that is.
Actually, I got one farther. Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I rented a U-Haul truck and I took 8 games there. There's a pinball museum in Gatlinburg, downtown Gatlinburg, and that was a hard trip. A U-Haul for 10 hours with no cruise control.
Sam and I moved recently.
Yeah,
and it took us 5 U-Hauls to move all our crap from one house to the other.
And why do they always give us U-Hauls with like tires that have no tread?
Yeah, the last U-Haul I rented didn't have cruise control and had barely tread on the tires, and it was raining, so I figured that part out very quickly.
Yep. Yeah, after about 10 hours of holding the gas pedal, your calf muscle is burning.
Yeah, I'm just terrified driving one of those anyway, because they're just way more large than I'm expecting.
Right.
The first car I ever had didn't have cruise control, so I kind of get used to not having it. So now it just feels like a luxury.
Oh yeah.
I still drive a manual when I take my actual truck out somewhere, so I'm always less inclined to use the cruise control because it'll just fail if the speed required to change it.
Right.
You're getting moved around. What is happening over there in Charlie Land?
Charlie, you're drunk. Hold the camera still. Well,
We're
this is
looking at
the
a box.
first time for the Coin Jam podcast. If you've never seen dudes loading something into a truck, this is it. This is what you came for.
It's a spectator sport now.
So
Yeah,
we
when
got
I fit two in my van, I slide one all the way forward because my van's only like 10 feet long inside. So I'll slide that first one all the way forward. I figure out which one is the heavier of the two. Then I'll take 2x4s and slide it underneath that first game. And then I slide the other game on top of the 2x4s. And then I ratchet strap everything inside the van. So basically, I have to drive with the back two doors open.
We every game that we have, with the exception of Tron, which was by coincidence, and our 6-player X-Men, has fit in Sam's hybrid RAV4. A lot of the time we go pick something up and people are you sure you can fit that game in that car? And the answer is always yes. We've even managed to get Mortal Kombat in there. It's a surprisingly spacious vehicle.
Yeah, we used to have a Yukon Denali, and I could fit a game in there easy. Fold down the seats.
For a while before I had the truck that I have now, I had a pretty unreliable truck that would break down every 20 minutes. So sometimes I'd have to do pickups and deliveries in a Dodge Durango, and I found that the largest cabinet that will fit in a Dodge Durango is a Virtua Fighter, which is not small. That's kind of a beast of a cabinet, and I had maybe like a 1/16 of an inch clearance on either side. You had to really want that thing to fit, but I got it to fit, and I closed the door. I don't think you can get anything even slightly larger than that, but anyone who's listening is curious, you can fit a Virtua Fighter inside of a Dodge Durango if you really wanted to.
The only thing we couldn't close the door on was the 4-player X-Men when we brought it back. The Konami 4-player cabinets are just too wide.
Even if you take that control panel off?
Yeah, no, too wide, even without the control panel.
Yeah, what are those? 32 inches wide or something like that?
I think that's with the panel. Without the panel, they are
28
inches.
Yeah,
I think. Which is definitely a lot wider than your standard cabinet.
Yeah, they're a beast. Anymore, I after I get all my cabinet work done on my cabinets, I bring them in the basement and then I put them together. So much lighter, not having the monitors and everything in them. Sucks bringing them back out of there, but
yeah, I'm so glad that we don't have a basement here that the games are in. For one, I would say I'm less worried about flooding, but we had a ceiling leak, so I guess that's not true.
It could happen.
It could happen, but at least on the ground floor, it's just a matter of wheeling them through the garage. I think they go up one step and they're in the arcade.
I remember we had a Dance Revolution when the kids were little, and getting that back out of the basement had, I think, a 32-inch CRT in it. It took 4 of us, everything in us to get it up.
I think it's got a 27 or a 29. I've moved a lot of DDRs. I still own one. And they've got some heft to them. The entire cabinet, everything together, weighs just under 1,000 pounds. It weighs in at like 960.
Yeah.
And the main unit's about half of that. So, yeah, it's got some heft to it.
The heaviest machine we've got has got to be either the 6-player X-Men or our jukebox. The
6-player X-Men is a beast.
Yeah, no, it really is. Thankfully, it comes apart into 3 pieces and it's on wheels. But the thing takes up an entire trailer on its own. It's 24 square feet of game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I had to move one once, but luckily I have a lift gate and I didn't have to move it into anything. I just put it directly onto the back of a trailer.
Those monitors come out of that one pretty easily, don't they?
Only the box one in the back. The other one stays in. So it's actually, they thought really well about this. There's a second panel on the back of the 6-player X-Men. You pulled off. When you take the monitor out the back, it slots into the base of the cabinet. It has a little spot there that it can bolt down and be out of the way so you can move it. And it can go through a door. And if you look at our channel and see the video of us moving it, you'll see us taking this thing through a standard door and find that it fits with less than an inch on the top and the side. So they really maximize the volume of that cabinet.
That control panel on that thing is enormous, especially all that space inside there.
Yeah, no, Sam was sitting in that control panel.
If somebody breaks in your house, you guys can hide in your X-Men. Nobody even know you're there.
Yeah, that'd be the last thing that they try to steal too. They'd be like, "This thing's even heavier than I thought. It feels like there's 2 people in here."
I guess that's a good thing for me. I don't think they're going to be lugging these things up the steps.
Yeah, they are pretty tough to move, right? Some of them just are way heavier than you think. Like Zaxxon's, it's got all the appeal of a sack of concrete and the weight of a sack of concrete.
Yep. But yeah, that dancing game, taking that up the steps with 4 guys and the weight of the machine, I was like, man, I hope these steps don't, break from underneath us. It's a lot of weight in a small area.
So yeah, on all my ads for everything I sell, I talk about how I'll do delivery, but first floor only, no stairs.
Yep.
Up or down, I'm not interested.
Right.
I've had a few customers that wanted a machine like up in their attic or whatever, and I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wheel it to the base of your stairs, and then you get some friends, and I'll let you borrow my dolly, and you get it up there, and then once it's up there, I'll set it up. But I'm having no part of doing that because I don't want to put forth the physical effort, first of all, because that's a lot of work. I don't want to do it. I don't want to accidentally lose my grip and it falls down the stairs and I put a giant hole in the side or run you over or something. I'm not going to be liable for any of that. I'm not interested. Just get it up there and then, I'll do everything from there, but I'm not doing that physical part. I probably could. I used to deliver furniture for a living. I've had to take, front load washers up 3 flights of stairs. I have the strength and I have the dolly that can do it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not interested.
My parents' house, their front door is up a flight of concrete steps out the front. It's not ground level entry. We got that jukebox up and down those steps, just me and Sam, and that sucked so much. I'm glad that it is hopefully never going to move again because I think that machine is just so heavy. It's all metal.
I think the
Looks like we
largest
got Charlie
machine that I had to deal with was a Fighting Mania, which it has a small monitor, but it's got a very wide cabinet because it has these punch pads that fold out that you're supposed to hit. And so the entire thing would barely fit through the front door of the house, which is, I want to say, 32 inches wide. It barely fit through that. And I had to get it up just 3 steps on the porch to get to that point. And even that was a nightmare. There were 3 of us doing it, and we still had the hardest time just trying to get that thing. I put the Dance Dance Revolution through that door and had an easier time doing that than I did that Fighting Mania. I don't know how much it weighed, but it was a lot.
Looks like we finally got Charlie.
Charlie, I don't
What'd I
think
miss?
I'm supposed to drive that game.
Yeah, no, it's on a dolly. Yeah, that was cool. My wife's going to be happy that there's one less game in the garage, especially one less that I don't even own. So that was cool. Yeah, it was Gibby and Kapow from Kapow's Arcade. I'll grab a link to Kapow's Arcade on YouTube and post it down in the chat. And then one of their friends came over, so they've got the timber. The timber has left the building. I think Ethan, another Overtime Arcade channel member, was regretting that timber was leaving. So
let's take some bets in the live chat. How long do you think it's going to take for Charlie to fill that spot with something else that he found?
Well,
Tomorrow.
So I've already got. Did I mention? Well, Gibby's the one that's got those 2 Trons that I'm supposed to fix, right? And Mark wants to bring 5 games over here. Or we were talking about this before we went live. So yeah, so Troy's the one. He's got over 300 games. He's got a really nice restored Tron in his arcade in his house. He built another building. It's almost a little bit like Luna City if you ever heard that story. And he's got a warehouse full of projects, and he's got 2 more Trons. He's going to bring those 2 Trons here. I'm going to restore both of them. He's going to pay for it, and I'm going to keep one of them, and he's going to sell the other one to pay for all that. And then Mark has 5 games he wants to drop off. He doesn't want me to do the cosmetics because he can do that himself. But he wants me to get the games up and running, and we can send out the PCBs if I can't get the PCBs going, and then I'm going to get a game out of that, which I'll save that for a surprise later. But yeah, sorry for that, but so sorry for that, but I thought that was kind of neat to do a reverse pickup live on the podcast. Yeah, I mean, Kay, I must have missed all of the super chats. So those couple $100 million that snuck past me are all gonna, I think, end up going to you. So, let's see.
Getting back to
Angelina.
the topic a little bit.
Yeah.
The last thing in the notes that we have here is we touched on it a little bit, but that you you're doing this full time now. And as someone who also made the jump to quitting my day job and doing this full time, I can certainly admire that. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that?
I mean, obviously there's a little nervous going from a job that you've done for 32 years and basically starting over at 48 years old. But I'm pretty confident everything should work out pretty good. I have quite a few cars lined up, and it just seems like every day somebody wants something done. Just like that pole position popped up the other day, which I ran and got, and I'm going to restore that for him. So see how it goes,
So yeah, but before I took my business full time, I was just doing it kind of on the side, just out of my garage. And whenever I actually did, quit my job and take it full time, I'd already established somewhat of a clientele. I had my tools, I had some inventory, I had the space to work out of. I had the truck to do all the logistics. Do you have everything like that already lined up to where you're just ready to work, don't have to worry about anything else?
Yeah, yep. Other than making a little bit more space in the back shop, just so I can get a lot more stuff done. But yeah, it's pretty much all set up. Have everything I need tool wise and stuff like that. I have quite a few connections car wise. I did quite a few games for over the years for Playport in Erie, PA. Did quite a few games for Brad over there. It just seems like people randomly pop up. But definitely focus more on the cars and kind of work more on the games for myself. Won't be doing too many for other people.
So
There's got to be more money in the cars, right?
What's that?
I said there's got to be more money in the cars, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's a lot more work. Arcade games, nothing compared to a car. People don't critique your paint job on an arcade like they do a car.
That's debatable.
You must go through a lot of bondo between both of them.
Yeah, luckily I spray everything, so I get a really good finish, which is nice. Makes life a lot easier. I have rolled before, and you can get good results from that as well. Just takes longer,
Awesome. Well, that's and I'm gonna have to go back and listen. I kind of had my headphones on, listening to all of it, but I was definitely distracted a little bit. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the podcast once we post the audio version, which I usually do a day or two after.
There's nothing but endless cursing, so you're really gonna have to go and just kind of bleep out a lot of things.
Really, and I didn't even get a chance to write down in my notes when I have to go and insert.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but we didn't.
And we went ahead and gave Liam the Cubert.
And I was worried about these guys getting me in trouble and getting me kicked off of YouTube, but it was the three of you. So
there's also a lot of nudity. Did I mention that? Just lots of nudity.
Well,
what happens when we don't have a moderator keeping us at bay?
Do you pick your feet? You put your feet up on camera again?
Well, I got a super donation to do that. So
yeah, there you go. So before we get to our sort of last segment, wanted to tease the announcement a little bit. So I mentioned beginning of the episode that we have a major announcement to share at the end of the show. That will forever change the future of the Coin Jam podcast. As many of you know, we started, the original four hosts were myself and Kay and Liam and also Jeremiah from Coin Op Corner. Jeremiah has some very awesome, exciting things going on in his life right now. And he's saying he needs to act more like a grown up, which is, totally understandable. So we have found a new permanent host who will start joining us full-time starting next month. This is someone who is probably familiar to virtually everyone who is watching or listening to this right now. Pretty big YouTuber in this space and somebody who's done a ton of videos over a long period of time, many, many years. Was probably influential for lots of us. And has sort of been on, a little bit of a hiatus from making videos, but is really starting to swing back into it. So we'll talk a little bit more about who that is at the end of the episode. But yeah, starting next month, they'll be joining us full time. So very, very exciting. They've got a ton of experience, very high energy, and I think you all will really enjoy that. So more about that coming up. So last thing we wanted to talk about is we were chatting about some of this because some of us have been working on these things lately. Parts and components that have really, really, really bad reputations, right? So we're not talking about bad games, right? We're talking about bad monitors and power supplies and maybe ICs or whatever, and kind of our experiences with them. So the first one for me that came to mind is, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, is the Matsushita monitor. So this, if you're not super familiar with it, this is a monitor that during the heyday of the golden age, there was such a rush, to get, put every monitor into service to build as many cabinets as possible. Electra Home cranking them out, and Wells Gardner cranking them out, and all these other companies trying to crank out monitors with varying degrees of success. And I think Matsushita was a Panasonic consumer TV, like an actual television, that they kind of very quickly and sloppily adapted the chassis from being a consumer television TV, able to with a tuner and being able to receive broadcast signals and different inputs and stuff, and rush that into service as an arcade monitor. Notoriously bad. That's the one that I had in my Kangaroo that was broken when I got it, but I was able to rebuild it, and then it was working for maybe a couple of weeks, and then the flyback went kaput and was arcing all over the place. And again, Sean from Classic Arcade Repairs hooked me up with an OEM flyback off of a parts chassis. Have any of you guys had the pleasure of working on a Matsushita? I know famously Buffet from the or Buffett from the Arcade Buffet. He always told people on Clav, whenever they would post a question about Matsushitas, he'd be like, throw them away, but before you do, cut the neckboard off of it and send it to me. And he was amassing a pile of Matsushita neckboards almost as like scalps, right, as trophies. So any of you guys or folks in the live chat, have you had much experiences with Matsushitas?
Nope.
Far worse.
What's worse than a Matsushita, Liam?
We got an amp raster here.
That's true. So what was that experience like?
Well, the amp raster, for those who aren't familiar, the well-known Amplifone vector monitor had its cousin, the raster monitor, and it was well known for blowing up, just like its vector cousin. And its manner of blowing up was setting fire to the rest of the cabinet. So of games that used them, TX3 and Firefox and a few iRobots and Crystal Castles, basically none of them survived. There are very few Firefoxes left standing that have one, and they never reproduced the flyback or any other part for it. And if you look at Jed Margolin's development notes, you can see that the standard test procedure for that monitor involved it exploding even at Atari's labs. So yeah, it was a beast to fix. Thankfully,
and they said, screw it, put it in production.
They said, yeah, that and the switching power supply, which is its own problem. We didn't have that, thank God. But thanks to the help of Jess Askey, we were able to finagle a solution for that monitor with a K7000 flyback in the place of the original amp raster flyback with some additional
That was definitely
modifications.
a custom setup there.
But that's the dedication to it, right? We've got the Firefox with the raster monitor and the Laserdisc player. And should we? The answer is probably no, but it's fun.
Yeah. ticking time bomb. You don't want to leave that one turned on unsupervised for extended periods of time, I would imagine.
No.
You might end up with worse problems than just a little leak in your roof. But speaking of monitors known to catch fire, I've never had one. I would love to own a game that has one of these, but the Sega G08 monitor, the Sega Color Raster monitor. You guys ever spent any time with one of those?
I've only seen them. I've never owned one. I wish I did.
I've never had luck with those other Sega monitors, the 19 inches that came like in the Zaxxon and stuff. what was it? Nanco or
Nano.
something? Nano. Yeah, I
Nano.
can't. I never have any
Yeah.
luck with those.
Yeah,
I
Jeff
don't mind
Kinder's
those.
got a ton of Go8s. He's got a whole row of Sega Vectors, just waiting to
And it's
burst
got a
into
nice
flames.
little box with a fire extinguisher in it. It's a Go8 repair kit.
That's right. Wayne in the live chat, Overtime Arcade channel member says the Kagi monitor sucks. I've never had a Kagi. Have any of you guys been through one of those?
Nope.
I think there was a whole rash of Japanese monitors. Again, sort of coming out in the mid to late 80s. There was a huge run of them. Nowhere near, I think, as good or reliable as like the Sanyo or something like that. Yeah, and Liam, you also mentioned everyone's another favorite super unreliable component of the classic age of arcade games, Laserdisc players. And you and Sam had quite an adventure getting a Laserdisc player working in your Firefox.
Yeah, the Firefox Laserdisc player is unique, which is another stick in the bucket of unique parts that Firefox used, which sucked. Philips VP931 had a tendency for its mirrors to fall off and get stuck to their magnetic guideposts. Sam developed a jig to help us fix that, so we could put those mirrors back on. But still, even then, it's a beast to calibrate and get it to work right. And it's still, to this day, very touchy, but it does work.
Yeah, if somebody gets frustrated and pounds on the control panel, does that cause the Laserdisc to skip?
I have no idea. What it does cause is them getting kicked out of my house.
Or but there's also the Firefox itself is such a loud game, right?
Yes, it's
presumably
incredibly loud.
because of the fans, right? There's multiple fans in that thing, right?
The fans and the disc player together make it sound like it's a jet taking off when you turn on the machine.
I wonder if there's a chance that the fan is working so hard that there's enough of a vibration that messes with the Laserdisc. I don't know.
I don't know. If you put your hand on the game, you can definitely feel that something is moving in there.
The purring engine. Yeah. And, you mentioned this earlier, Liam, but I know on the list of things like this that Kay wanted to talk about is the Hantarex Polo monitor. So tell us about the fun you've had with Polo monitors, Kay.
Polos look okay if they work. If they don't work, I don't want to work on them. I have maybe a 50% success rate with bringing them back to life. Usually whenever I see one, I tell people, let's replace this. Because if I remember correctly, you can use the tubes that a Hantarex Polo will go into, and you can also put a K7000 in there. I think it's just a straight drop-in replacement. You don't have to change any yokes or anything. You can use the exact same monitor. If I'm remembering correctly, don't do that and quote me on it, but I'm fairly certain that's true. And so I've usually found people.
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, I've
Consult
usually
the
found a
doctor.
K7000 as a replacement and thrown that in there instead. Oddly enough, with some of the other Hantarex monitors, like the MTC 900 or 9000 or whatever, the 19-inch version, the older one, I haven't had too much issues with those. Whenever I see one of those, I don't think I immediately need to throw it away. I'll give that one a shot. But if I see the 25-inch Polo, I hate it, and I want to put a bullet through it.
We have an MTC 900 in the workshop right now that was in the Konami cabinet. So I'm getting ready to dig into that.
And see, those aren't too bad, and there's a decent amount of resources online on how to work on it. But you look at Polos, and there's like one definitive guide, and then everyone else is like, throw it away.
My Neo Geo came with a Polo. I took it right out and put a K7000 in there.
See,
I think it
right
works.
out.
I think it needs cap kit, but it's sitting in the back building. I don't even want to touch it. It's kind of like a big paperweight. I don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah. I've got some weird ones here too, like the Cortec, like I mentioned, the Beztech that's in the first Outrun Mini that I have.
I have one of those in my Frogger.
Was it working when you got it, or was it dead and you brought it back to life?
No, it was missing green. And man, I took everything apart and I could not figure out why it was missing green. And the neck board, one of the pins was bent. So when the
Oh.
neck board was put on, the green pin wasn't going into the neck. So straightened it out.
It was bent that far off. It wouldn't even
Yep,
go.
and
It
it
wasn't
didn't-
even.
and it didn't break.
Wow.
Yeah, because I got it like that. Somebody had pulled the neck board off, and I don't know how they bent that one pin, but when they put it back on, that thing was going straight down.
So almost like, resocketing an IC, and one of the legs gets bent inwards and doesn't go into the socket.
You know how scared I was trying to bend that thing straight with a pair of needle nose?
Yikes.
I've been
Yikes.
there.
Yeah.
Any other monitors kind of been the bane of your existence, Troy, as you've been in this hobby?
No, I got a monitor for the Tempest. My buddy's fixing it for me. I don't even want to mess with it.
Yeah.
He got it all up and
6100.
running.
I actually really like the 6100 monitors.
Do you?
I've gotten more practice on them, and I've gotten to the sense of they're pretty easy to work on and fix. I
Well,
think.
They're well understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the funny thing is he got it up and running today, and then it started to go out of focus. Brand new flyback and everything. He's like, I don't know what the heck's wrong with it. Ended up pulling off the neck board, and the focus pin is gone. It's not on the
Yeah,
neck.
that'll
Gone.
do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Can that be fixed? I mean, because that's a weird pin. That's not a round pin on those.
Yeah, the 6100 tube does have a interesting socket.
Right.
If there's any metal left to it, you might be able to put a connection on it and
Yeah,
then
we're gonna have to
route
pop
it
open.
properly to the neck board.
Yeah, with the pop open that cover and see if there's something I can.
The cover should come off.
Right. Hopefully it's not glued.
It is.
Well, and the pin probably broke, right? Because if the pin
Yeah.
came out entirely, it would have lost
It's
the
gone.
vacuum.
Yeah, it's gone. No, not in the monitor, in the neck board. The pin in the neck board, the focus pin.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
That's
fixable.
That's
You
fine.
could just scratch a trace and just solder it directly if you had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's that
that's
weird.
100%.
It's not a round pin though. It's that like oblong, almost like a spade connector type looking thing. You know.
Yeah, but again, you can fix it. You can wedge something in there and that'll work.
Just some aluminum foil or something.
You can solder something directly to it, and then you can just twist it together, put a
What have I done in situations like that? I know I've cut things to make those spade connectors before. I'm trying to remember what it was.
But
Yeah.
other than that,
Sometimes you have monitors that the ground connection to the neck is soldered, and I've gotten tired of desoldering and resoldering every time I do that. So, and I've seen other people do it. You just cut that wire.
Oh, I do it every time.
And then you crimp on quick connect just because it's
I-
just ground, right? It's not a signal.
I do that every time. Every monitor, I put a quick connect on the ground that we've got.
Yeah. Another thing that, like I mentioned earlier, that's been the bane of my existence lately is this Taito linear power supply. Like I said, nobody like you like look for cloth threads or whatever on fixing these things, and everyone's just like get rid of it and put a switcher in. But I am a fool, and I enjoy going on fool's errands. So I'm trying to get this thing going. You guys were teasing me saying, "What are you not replacing on that board?" What's funny though, so this video, hopefully, knock on wood, it'll be done for next weekend. Because if you go and search YouTube, you will not find any videos. I have not found a single video about actually how to repair or rebuild one of these power supplies. There's plenty of videos about replacing them with a switcher, right? But there's not a single video out there. So hopefully keep your fingers crossed for me. We'll have a video in about a week's time that will be a successful rebuild of this power supply. Now that I say that, it'll probably be a massive catastrophic failure.
I have three of those power supplies. One in my Zookeeper, one in my elevator action, and
Running
what was that?
Running or just
No.
sitting there in the bottom?
They're just sitting in the bottom. I have them in there. What's the third game I have it in? Can't remember. I have three of them though. I know that.
I was talking about it in the Overtime Arcade private members only Discord. Jeff Kinder, he's got one running in his frontline cabinet. He's like, when I got it, it was working, and I haven't messed with it. Knock on wood. But all of his other Taitos have switchers in them. So Yeah.
I
That's
think
just like the power
We don't
supply
have any
in the
80s
Rockola
games.
cabinets are weird too.
Oh, they're bad too.
Yeah, they're real strange.
I think the only Taito game I've ever worked on that had the original power supply in it and working was an Alpine Ski. It just happened to still be working, so I left it in there.
Yeah.
Everything that we've got here that's 80s and should have a linear is running its appropriate linear.
But you don't have any classic Taitos. You've got Space
No.
Invaders, but not yeah. not one of these suckers. Where is it? Right
No.
there. Yeah.
The worst we've got would probably be Tron.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the MCR suitcase. Yeah. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. But yeah, guys, what other things, whether it's, boards that are notoriously bad, Liam, you were talking about the X-Men Konami sound chip.
Yeah, well, that's not
suiciding chips or what else, right?
The X-Men sound chip is not really something that you would make a labor of love to fix. Although I say that, but ours has been fixed by someone in the past. The issue with those sound chips, for those who are not familiar, is that the covering over the capacitors will sort of liquidize and cause acid damage to the PCB that sound custom is on. And it will eventually kill the sound custom. So you have to replace it, remove that sound custom, and put it on a repro chip. But sometimes people try to scrape away all that covering and install new capacitors. And that's what happened to our X-Men. But I still removed and socketed that chip because I'm scared of it. But that's sort of a necessity rather than a labor of love thing.
I have 3 monitors I can think of that all have bad reputations, and one of them I agree with. The other 2 I don't. One I especially don't. The one I do agree with would be anything made by Pentranic. I don't know if you've came across any of those. I find a lot of those monitors in some of the 8-liners I come across. It's just some of the generic 19-inch monitors that got thrown into these things. A lot of them have K7203s in them, and those are fine. I'll rebuild those. They're not that much different from a standard K7000. But the Pentranics are just straight garbage. I've found some medium res ones inside some racing games too, like Off-Road Thunder and Cruising Worlds and stuff like that. I've come across those Pentranics, and they are not good. Not a fan. That is one that if it works, I'll leave it in there. But if it's got any issues, I'll just throw it out. One that gets talked about a lot is the K6100. We touched on that, the color vector. I think if they're properly rebuilt, and most importantly, you put a fan in there to help with air circulation, you'll get a good life out of it. I think
Do the low voltage upgrade.
Yeah, you do the LV2K. I think a lot of people who complain about them have not done all that, and so they're like, "Oh, every time I turn on my Tempest, I cross my fingers and I hope it doesn't blow up." It's like, well, if you rebuild it, it's not going to. So.
The one that's in our space stool is still running without a LV modification. I have it sitting on the workbench. It needs to go in there, but it's just interesting to see the original monitor.
Does it have the original bottle cap transistors, the frame transistors? Or have you replaced those?
Everything's original on that monitor.
No fan on it?
Actually, yes, the Space Duel Cocktail does have a fan. I think Tempest does not. Major Havoc does, but it's so loud I've removed it for the time being, and I've just left the back door off.
Yeah, we put a fan on mine, so I'm not going to mess around with that.
I am planning on doing a experimental mod to the Major Havoc 6100 though at some point in the future. I'm trying to get
change
more.
the frequency or whatever of it.
I want to up
refresh?
the draw rate of that monitor to try to keep up with the original Major Havoc clocks. So we'll see what that will look like, but it's definitely going to ramp up the heat.
The other one I wanted to talk about that I see a lot of people complain about that I don't understand is the K4600. A lot of people complain about how the daughter cards that are on it keep shaking loose and you're losing your signals, your XY and stuff like that, or they complain about a lot of issues that it has. That's another one of those that if it's properly rebuilt, you're fine. You don't have to do anything with it. The little plastic piece that holds those daughter cards in place, as long as it's not broken anywhere, it does just a fine job of holding those things in. But you have to take that deflection board out and reflow all those pins to make sure that they're getting good connections and you don't have cracked solder joints and all that. Because if you do, all you have to do is shake it gently and you're going to lose your picture. The thing I do agree about on the 4600 is that it's a real pain to remove that deflection board and recap it. There's a lot of permanent wiring that you can't just, undo and redo afterwards. And so what I do is I don't take the deflection board completely out and put it on the bench. I remove it with just enough leeway that I can sit it on a stool next to the cabinet, and I just sit it on that, and I just do my recap there. Because there's not very many caps on the deflection board. There's like maybe a dozen. All the rest are on the daughter cards. So doing a cap kit doesn't take very long on the deflection board. So, just do it while I'm sitting right there and then put it right back in. And it's got one of the best looking pictures, I think, of those older monitors. Like, I think it's got a superior picture to the K4900 or the G07. I think it's one of the best looking monitors out there. It's just, It's such a pain to remove it and do the work. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And that's why they complain about their K4600 messing up all the time, because they haven't done the work.
Yeah, I rebuilt the 4600 in my Galaga. It has an awesome picture. Yeah.
It's a beautiful chassis. It's just, I don't like how they engineered it and put it together, because there's a lot of permanent connections that I don't feel like unsoldering and resoldering afterwards. So I give myself enough slack so I can just move it 2 feet over here, do the job, put it right back where it goes.
I'll be working on my first 4600 soon, because I've got one. It currently works, but I should probably cap it and everything in the Frogger. It kind of reminds me of, with those daughter cards, it makes me think of like a Space Invaders board set, where instead of them being stacked, they're like an L, right? Yeah, perpendicular PCBs.
Yeah, it's an odd design, but half the time you can just take those daughter cards themselves out, recap those, and reflow the connectors, and that'll probably solve your problems right there. But while you're at it, go ahead and take out the deflection board, do the full job, because if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. Mm-hmm. I saw someone in the chat said that Pentronic and MacVision are basically the same thing. I could see that, because MacVisions aren't great either. It's another one of those that they look fine when they work, but when they don't, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, well, and like those Cortex are also, I think, Imperial, and there was another brand that was the same monitor too, essentially. I forget.
Vision Pro.
Vision Pro.
I've got a 13-inch Vision Pro in the Pac-Man Cabaret I just picked up. I didn't even know Vision Pro made a 13-inch version. I've only seen the 19s.
I've got a G07 FBO and a Vision Pro frame in my Missile Command cocktail. So it's definitely a G07 FBO, but it's in a it's 13-inch in a Vision Pro frame for whatever reason. I'm guessing because maybe they took that FBO out of like a cabaret or something, and then found a cocktail frame for a Vision Pro and kind of Frankensteined it all together.
Now, I think the Vision Pro was just supposed to be a modern replacement for, I want to say, G07s in the first place, so that's not that surprising. The one I have works. I'm just going to have to take it out and cap it.
It'd be nice if I could find a monitor for that Paperboy, but I don't see me finding one of them.
Yeah, so anyone out there, if you've got a medium res monitor for Troy here, he could 19-inch. Reasonable price or free. He will accept donations, I'm assuming. Right? So if you've got use
that 19-inch CRT computer monitor for now. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I don't want to put a flat screen in there. I don't know what to look, but
I got a 25-inch medium res in the garage.
So do I.
You squeeze that in?
Yeah.
I think just went full time. He needs the help, so go ahead and donate that chassis to him, or that monitor to him, and you'll be helping him out.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see how the computer monitor looks for now.
Yeah, I'm excited to continue following that. I know you've done a couple videos already. Really
I haven't done much. Yeah, I haven't gotten a lot done on it yet, but it's getting there.
Got a bum knee. That's definitely going to slow you down.
Yep.
So, Cool. All right. Well, I think that was a good podcast, guys. What do you think? Maybe we'll go around the horn here. Everybody kind of, plug your channel, tell everybody where they can find you, maybe what the next video in the hopper is for you, starting with Liam.
Don't you have your special news?
Yes, that's at the end.
This is the end.
It's not the end of the end, though. This is the beginning of the end.
Last.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm Liam. I'm one half of Retrobotics. You can find us on YouTube. Hopefully more content at a greater rate soon enough. We have another video coming out tomorrow. And that's it.
What's it about? Tease it.
It's our promise from our live stream previously. We're going to go through Gate of Doom and play through the whole thing and just show everyone just how bad we are at that game, because it's really hard and we suck.
Is my light on? No, my light's not on. I played that at your house recently, and I thought it was actually kind of a fun game.
It's fun. It's just hard. It's hard as nails.
Well, it's meant to get you to keep dropping money in it. So, cool. Kay, how about you? Where can people find Prime Arcade?
I'm Kay with Prime Arcade Sales and Repair down here in West Texas. You can find me on TikTok, Prime_Arcade. That's where most of my content is. You can also find me on YouTube at Prime Arcade TX. I couldn't find the same username, but I mostly just cross-post the same videos over there, but the ones on YouTube don't have the background music or the captions added. That's just pure organic me talking to the camera. So if you prefer the videos that way, that's how you can see them on YouTube. If you do it on TikTok, you have background music from video games and the captions there as well. So whichever format you prefer, that's probably the one you should watch it on. You can also find me on Facebook. That's more for business stuff. But if you just want to see my content, YouTube and TikTok is the way to go.
You're big on TikTok, and it's a lot easier to use copyrighted music on TikTok, I found.
Yeah, I just do a voiceover and kind of play it. I have found some game series that I have to kind of avoid using the music from, because apparently they check those copyrights much more often. I have a hard time playing anything from the Tekken series because it gets taken down almost immediately. I guess Namco's taking a look out for their stuff. Even with the older Tekken games, doesn't have to be any of the newer ones. I could put something from Tekken 3 up and my sound is muted within like 30 seconds putting that video up.
Awesome. And Troy, how about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
I am Troy's Restoration on YouTube and Troy's Restoration 2.0. The 2.0 is what I do with the cars and other stuff. And then regular Troy's Restoration is all arcade now.
Very cool. I put a link down in the live chat to Troy's primary channel, the Arcade Focus channel. And then I think from there are links to his other channel if you're interested in checking that stuff out too. And Troy's channels have been growing like a weed, like wildfire. He's been getting tons of views on his, especially with I think people were really excited with the renovation he was doing in the arcade. So that's really, really cool. So let's see. Yeah, we need to. Angelina is right, Liam. We need to get Sam on the podcast. She's done a couple of cameos, but we need a Sam episode. So let's figure something like that sometime this year. So,
oh my God!
Yeah, and then what's that?
Is that the announcement? She's going to be on the podcast?
No, it's not Sam. So last, Charlie, Overtime Arcade. If you're watching this right now, you're watching it on my channel. New video coming out tomorrow is a pickup of 2 games behind me here. A second Outrun Mini and a very mysterious Neo Geo conversion. So, yeah, our announcement is that, we've got a new full-time host who is going to start next month. And I think this person is really known to all of you. So I'll make the big reveal right here.